I think it's fair to say that most interviewers with Labour politicians let them kind of get away scotch-free. However, I've always said time and time again with regard to Camilla, who obviously interviews on GB News, she does a very, very good job. And actually, she seems very, very fed up with this, in particular, Labour MP, and gives him an absolute grilling on various different subjects. Of course, with the Lucy Powell situation, but not only that, the stuff that the Labour MPs, of course, are turning on the party and saying what they're doing is not good enough at this moment in time. And then, just various other things about their lies and all of these kind of things. So, I want to watch and react to this one, guys. It is a good one. But as always, guys, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more British content. Have a watch.
Streeting. Mr. Streeting, you've lost 197 of the 285 seats you were defending. That's 2/3. So you're now less popular now than you were in 2021, even though you're meant to be in a honeymoon period.
Well, look, Camilla, I think as the Prime Minister said over the weekend, people voted for change at the last general election, and at the moment people aren't feeling that change, and I think that's reflected in the results on Thursday. And if I think about the NHS, for example, where we are making real progress, waiting lists have fallen 6 months in a row, the 2 million more appointments we promised in our first year, we actually delivered 7 months early. We're now standing at over 3 million. If you're one of the people who's come off the waiting list, you'll be delighted. But if you're one of the 7 million cases still on the waiting list, you're probably shouting at the telly at this very moment saying, don't tell me things are improving, I'm still waiting. So it's a good example, whether it's waiting lists, whether it's interest rates falling, whether it's wages rising faster and higher than inflation. These are moves in the right direction. Will people be feeling the benefits of that yet? No. That's why the Prime Minister said he wants to go further and faster on delivering real improvements that people feel. Because if they don't feel it by the next general election, they will look for change elsewhere.
Well, we'll get on to further and faster. Let's just read an alternative narrative to the one that you've just spun me there. People have had enough. Enough of low wages and sky-high bills. Enough of high streets being left to rot. Enough of crumbling infrastructure and public services that don't work. Enough of broken promises. Do you know who said that? It was your Labour colleague, the Labour MP Dan Carden. So even your own colleagues think that you're doing a bad job.
Well, I agree with Dan on every single word you've just read out there. I agree with him entirely, and I think that's the impatience people are feeling. That's why people are hungry for change, because all of those challenges, and there are many more that I could list besides, were challenges we walked into last July. And turning around the country with multiple and deep crises does take time. So the impatience that people are feeling, I feel, and that's one of the reasons why, in my day-to-day work, I'm constantly driving to go faster. I'm always being told by people to slow down. I'm going hard at layers of NHS bureaucracy at the moment, and I'm being told by people on our own side, oh, hang on a minute, just think it through a bit more, go more slowly. We haven't got time to do that.
How about this idea? You slow down on cutting pensioners' winter fuel. That has been your poll tax policy, hasn't it? It's universally unpopular, even with your own voters, and most people cited it as the reason they didn't back you. The winter fuel allowance is one of the worst Labour policies that's ever been announced, isn't it, Mr. Streeting?
Well, I'm not going to insult your viewers or the voters by pretending that winter fuel allowance hasn't been an issue on the doorstep. It has, and we've all heard that. In fact, I think pretty much everything that the Chancellor has done to raise the money needed to invest in public services like the NHS has been opposed by someone. We've had the same on things like getting rid of the VAT exemption for private schools, asking the wealthiest non-DOMs to pay more in their fair share of tax, the employer national insurance decision that we've made. We knew when we made those decisions that they risked being unpopular. We made those decisions because we thought they were the right decisions so that we can invest in our public services, turn the country around, get Britain out of the massive hole it was left in. So we that's why we take, it's not because we want to be unpopular or I want to be knocking on doors and someone having a go at me for something we've done. It's because we genuinely think they're the right decisions.
It hasn't helped the economy, has it? The IMF has downgraded our growth forecast. Let's also move on to your colleague Lucy Powell. Doesn't this sum up the problem for Labour? And that's the fact that Lucy Powell, a government minister, the leader of the Commons, believes that if somebody points out the grooming gang scandal in which thousands of teenage girls were raped and tortured, somebody in Labour points a finger and says, you're a bigot and a racist.
I don't think that's what Lucy thinks
That's
and feels.
exactly what happened.
Look,
It's a dog whistle issue.
She's rightly apologised for what she said on Radio 4 on Friday night, and said, like, you know, she's made a genuine mistake. She's genuinely sorry.
What did she get?
I've been
what
in
did she make
those
a
sorts of
mistake
debate
about? Sorry, I'm
programmes before
confused.
where people.
What mistake did she
I've
make?
been in those debate programmes. She shouldn't have said what she said to Tim Montgomery.
Why did she
that
say
wasn't the right response to fair and reasonable points he was making. Well, because she's human and we make mistakes. And I've been in those debate formats before where sometimes in the heat of debate you say that you didn't mean, or it comes across in a way that you didn't intend, and you really wish you'd rather not have said it. And
no, hang on a minute. No. She turned to Tim Montgomery, who you and I know well, who's quite a moderate righty. She pointed at him and she accused him of dog whistle politics because he raised quite legitimately the grooming gang documentary on Channel 4. How on earth is that mistaken? It's precisely that attitude that allowed large numbers of largely Pakistani men to rape white teenage girls in this country for years.
Well, there's no doubt, and I think the Alexis J report, Louise Case's work and others.
He's waffling, but she's doing a very, very good job. This is probably one of the best news host performances I've seen since Labour came into power. She is going in on him.
Do highlight that has been a factor in these crimes not going properly investigated, not going properly reported, and it's one of the reasons why this government is making sure that we are recording ethnicity data, not just in terms of future offences but previous offences. We've asked every police force in England and Wales to reopen those cases where no further action was recommended, to look again to make sure that no stone was left unturned. And we've also given victims the chance to go to the independent panel for them to look at things if they don't think it's been investigated.
Lucy
that used
Powell.
to be the case for historic cases. We've opened to all. So we do take it really seriously.
Yeah,
we're not afraid of pointing out where there have been particular ethnic factors in some of these crimes, patterns in communities. We're not leaving any stone unturned here.
She's apologised to save her own political skin. If this was a Tory and you were in opposition, you'd be calling for her resignation within minutes. Point one. Point two, she should apologise to Tim Montgomery and the grooming victims.
Well, as I say, she's apologised very publicly. I think it's a sincere apology. I was in touch with Lucy last night. I think she's genuinely sorry. And I happened to pass Tim Montgomery this morning in Sky to pass that on as well. So, it's, as I say, we're all human. We do make mistakes. I've made mistakes in the past. I'm bound to make mistakes in the future. When we do make mistakes, important we just own it, apologise and move on. And that's what we've done.
All right. Well, quick question, because we're running out of time and we're competing with a choir in the background, so well done, Mr. Streeting. The North East London Foundation Trust has issued official guidance describing anyone with gender-critical views as a TERF, which is a derogatory term to describe such people. They need to pull this guidance immediately. It also says it's unlawful to exclude trans women from women-only spaces. Well, that's not what the Supreme Court has just ruled.
Yeah, in fact, the NHS is updating all of its guidance in light of the Supreme Court ruling, which we will abide by.
This
and I will be looking at that
it?
particular guidance at the North East London Foundation Trust, because I struggle to see why such guidance was written in the first place. I'm afraid it has become a daily feature of my job as Health and Social Care Secretary to deal with problems that really shouldn't have been there in the first place, but that's the job I signed up for.
Yes.
I'm getting on with it without complaint. We are making progress, but I know that people need to feel it, they need to see it, and they need to, whether they're working in the NHS or using the NHS, need to genuinely feel like things are getting better. They are objectively getting better, but there's much more to do. Light at the end of the tunnel, but a lot of road ahead.
OK. Mr. Streeting, thank you.
Interesting. Well, there you go. I mean, that's, as I stated halfway through that, I do think news hosts aren't that great in terms of interviewers when it comes to holding Labour MPs to account. However, Camilla goes above and beyond, and actually that was a grilling. That was a good one. Obviously, Wes was waffling, of course, towing the party line. But a fantastic effort there from Camilla, and I thought that was very, very well done. And as I said, keep it coming. Keep that sort of stuff coming. But guys, do let me know your thoughts on everything that was said there in that interview down there in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. Peace.